Good evening. It's Rudy Giuliani, and this is the Rudy Giuliani Show. And we are on Lindell TV. We're on X. And let's begin. Let's begin tonight with the fact that the talks with Iran, if they haven't opened up already, are going to open up tomorrow. We did see a picture of Steve Witkoff walking in with several Iranian terrorists who make up the delegation for the world's chief terrorist, the Ayatollah Khomeini, a murderer of incalculable numbers of people, including Americans. I don't know if he's going to have to shake his hand. I would have a tough time doing it. He's killed so many American boys and girls. I'd have a really tough time doing it. Wouldn't have a tough time ordering a strike on him. That would be much easier. But Witkoff is a better man than I am, and he's going to go there and try to negotiate with them and see if they'll agree to not go nuclear. So suppose they do. Doesn't matter. Are we going to believe that? Are we going to have to then go prove that they're cheating again? You know how many Americans this regime has killed over 40 years that we've left them alone? I don't get it. I don't get our weakness on Iran. I don't think there'd be any repercussions for taking them out. None. Zero. I think it'd be quite popular in Iran. I don't think China or Russia would say a word. And I think it's about time to take out their nuclear weapons. And I have no idea what Steve Witkoff is going to talk with them about. They're going to allow inspections. They did that before. They're going to take down the amount of plutonium they have. They did that before. Are they going to stop developing ballistic missiles? Well, they're 7, 8 years later on it now and doing pretty well. So let's see what happens. But the only way we're going to get to peace, in the Middle East is to eliminate the Ayatollah and the regime of terror, because they will interrupt any form of peace, because they are dedicated to the destruction of the state of Israel and wiping out the Jewish people. That is a lifelong religious, insane religious if you want, or religious if you want, belief. So let's see what happens with these negotiations. Now, they were supposed to be direct, remember? But the Iranians say they're indirect, and we call them direct. So I'm not sure we've even won that. The Iranians today said these are indirect negotiations, and Witkoff said they're direct negotiations. I'm not sure I know the difference. I don't know what it symbolizes that the president only sent one person there and not one of his statutory counselors or secretaries, like the Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense. It sounds like he ratcheted it down a bit. No insult, Steve. That's the way things are looked at in Washington, right? Not even the National Security Advisor. Of course, he may be in hot water. I don't know. Steve may actually be the substitute for him in some ways. I'm not certain of that, but it looks that way. Well, we'll see what happens. I hope Iran doesn't try to fool us with, oh, yeah, we'll negotiate. Let it come back next week. They did say, Iran said they wanted it over with tomorrow. That'd be good. Either they give up all their nuclear weapons tomorrow or we bomb them on Monday. Sound good? Well, or when we get enough of our strike force there, whenever that is, which will be very soon. So the Trump tariffs are moving along. If I count correctly, there are roughly, of course, one or two could drop out, or one or two could add on, 75 countries that have, in one way or another, asked for negotiations. Some of them right to the point of 0-0. From the latest that I've heard, 15 of them are lined up already. Not sure all this weekend, but I think that they're going on this weekend. And it's a 90-day moratorium. So there are people, mostly left-wingers and Democrats and, lazy people, who say it can't be done in that period of time. Well, of course it can be done in that period of time. That's less than one a day. And by the way, they're pretty damn similar. You're probably going to have 3 or 4 pieces of boilerplate. In other words, one type of agreement or another kind or another kind. They're not going to be terribly different. It's really in the enforcement that it matters. Are they going to all live up to it, right? So it really gives you an idea of the difference between the work ethic of Republicans and the work ethics of the press and Democrats. For the press, it would be impossible. The press couldn't do anything practical like that if they had 5 years. But I say it's done in less than 90 days. And I'm not going to presume to tell the administration what to do, but I bet I can guess. I bet they'll prioritize the 0-0s first, or the ones with the biggest trade imbalances first. So you get a quick bang for the buck, one or the other. Or you might want to get the easy ones out of the way. Take the low-hanging fruit, because then you start a momentum, right? You don't want at the beginning have somebody that all of a sudden balks, right? So go for the easy ones first. If you see a little trouble, put it off a little. See if you can get 20 or 30 under your belt. And that's going to be quite a momentum toward getting the rest of them. It's going to make China look like SHIT, which it is, right? We know that. And it's a 90-day extension, correct, Stephen?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, what happened to the market? It's terrible what happened to the market. I mean, my God, it got destroyed, didn't it? I haven't checked it since the New York Wall Street Journal told me that the market was closing down about 3 days ago.
In free fall, according to the mainstream narrative after the tariff announcements.
Journal, which hasn't covered the market now in 3 days, so I can't tell what happened.
Well, when it doesn't fit their doom and gloom scenario surrounding the tariffs, I think they kind of want to ignore it.
We're doing all these tariffs in the world, and tariffs are very damaging to the market. What happened to the market today?
The market is up today, as it's been.
The Wall Street Journal may be wrong.
Crazy, right?
Do I see 40,000 there?
That would be correct. Up about 1.5 today.
That's good.
Now, another thing that you might want to pay attention to as well, and this is part of our global strategy, is oil prices. Now, oil prices have been retreating a little bit lately. They rebounded a little bit today, but that's going to put a lot more with President Trump's strategy of putting more oil on the market.
Right, you got to come down.
It's going to lower the prices and let equity soar a little bit more.
Wow. So they went down today or up?
They went up. Today is up. Oil price went up a little bit, but not much, but it's been on the downside. As you see, 61.48 a barrel. That's making it harder for all these very oil-dependent economies to keep up their, what they got going on. Russia, for example.
Well, it sounds like the Navarro-Trump strategy is smarter than all of the geniuses at the Wall Street Journal combined times 10.
We finally have a president who's using his leverage, right? Who's using the great American leverage that we've built over the decades.
It's smarter than the economists, which isn't hard.
Well, that's not hard.
What a bunch of phonies they are.
Well, and if you're a Wall Street reporter and you're any good at it, you just go make money on Wall Street. You wouldn't report on it.
Right.
Right.
Well, Does Trump have a China strategy? The editorial today, today they have the gall to say he doesn't have a China strategy. Meanwhile, China's sitting in a corner, completely isolated, not knowing what to do. They're sitting there with a tariff of 124% placed on them. They've got an 80 or 90% tariff on their goods. Everybody else is doing business with the United States except them. And that's not a China strategy. Maybe we're better without a China strategy. Their China strategy since Nixon went there has been to suck China's ass. And Rupert, too. I don't know how it feels, Rupert, to be doing that.
And countless other sellouts that kowtow to China, especially in our film industry.
A lot more sellouts than you realize.
Our film industry and the NBA.
This is not covered intellectually honestly. There are some people who have an intellectually honest position about it, but a lot of people are in for the dough, and big time. And I do not understand how you can say, we don't have a China strategy. That was probably one of the most brilliant strategies executed like that of any American president. And if you want to say that it was fortuitous, okay, you never know, right? We win battles based on fortuitous decisions by great generals. Well, China admitted in December, but we didn't find out about it because we had an administration that was beholden to China in office. Can you imagine this? We find this out now. I hope Trump knew this before. Beijing was behind a widespread series of alarming cyber attacks on U.S. infrastructure. Originally, they had described the cyber attacks as being done by a rogue group of criminals, and they dubbed it Volt Typhoon. But most of the U.S. delegation back in December read it as an admission and a warning to the U.S. about Taiwan. Now, how do we just find that out now? Is this another one on the list of quid pro quos for Joe Biden's $31 million to his family from China, along with Bagram Air Base, getting away with COVID, fentanyl? I mean, it's also, there's going to be a hearing, or there was a hearing, in which it was alleged that Mark Zuckerberg sold out our country's security for China profits. Is that possible that Zuckerberg would do that? Isn't he a very loyal American?
I think he's one on a long list, though.
Do we have any of that testimony from Sarah Wynne Williams, who worked there and said that she witnessed Zuckerberg and other top brass lie to the Congress and repeatedly undermine U.S. national security and betray American values in a failed attempt to appease Beijing and gain access to the Chinese market? Do we have that?
Which number?
Do we have it?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay, good.
We want to play the Zuckerberg or with Josh Hawley.
Josh Hawley or Wynne Williams? One or the other?
And so that would be cut number. Okay.
So I want to just be clear about this. Here in this document, Facebook is talking about making Chinese user data available to the Chinese government because they're going to store that data in China. Is that correct?
Correct.
But when you store that data in China, Americans who exchange messages or other information with Chinese Facebook users, that would mean the Chinese government could get access to the American data as well. Is that correct?
Through the POP servers, potentially, yes.
And Facebook was willing to take that risk?
Yes, there was a lot of discussion about this, and ultimately, yes.
I mean, this is extraordinary. This is exactly contrary to what Facebook has represented for years. Here, they're willing to build data centers, store data in China. They are willing explicitly to give the Chinese government access to it. And if that means that American user data is also compromised, they're willing to do that too. All for profits in China. There was virtually nothing they weren't willing to do.
That applies, unfortunately, Senator, to a lot of people. And probably a lot of people you'd be really surprised about. Zuckerberg, come on. What he did in 2020, what he did before that, maybe even stealing a company originally. He doesn't have any loyalty to the U.S. Imagine that. The big Chinese market. What they should do is cut them out of the big American market. Well, the Chinese were involved in that hacking scheme that we told you about, and that hacking scheme was played as a private one, done by Volt Typhoon. So that's another example of the Biden people lying to you when they were in office about their delivery of receivables, and that's what you owe people in a contract, receivables, right? To China, their paymaster. Of course, none of the newspapers, other than the Wall Street Journal and the Washington and the Post, New York Post, has that, because it isn't worth knowing that China hacked us under Biden, and Biden didn't do a diddly squat about it. We are revoking Chinese student visas, and the Chinese are going crazy. Thank God. Why do we need them here? Throw them out. Oh, it's going to mean a lot of money that universities aren't going to get. In fact, we have a balance of payments in our favor on education. Well, of course we do. They pay us to come and steal our intellectual property. But we can do without that balance of payment. There are things that come before money, Zuckerberg. One of them is national security. Throw them all out, no exceptions. This is the period of time where we exercised ridiculous judgment before, thinking that all Chinese were going to be people that would turn into capitalists, moral people, great love of life. Well, it didn't work. I'm sure there are some that are, many, but right now we don't have the room for that. We don't have the bandwidth for that. We don't have the resources for that. So I say throw them all out. We don't need Chinese students in the United States. They should be banned from all universities, and it should be a ban based on their hostility to the United States of America and all the horrible things they've done to the United States of America. I can't see why the president can't ban a particular group that are enemies of ours, that want to displace us as the leading nation in the world. That's killed 70. How many a year do they kill on fentanyl? 100,000?
Tens of thousands.
Yeah. Or how many did they kill with COVID? And how many are they going to kill now? They have the Bagram Air Base, and I mean, I don't know what you need to just keep them out. Why don't we just ban Chinese from coming here? And also, all their police stations, they should be raided, picked up, and thrown out. There are still some left. So basically what, I don't know if you got that correctly, but Sarah Williams was testifying that Meta actively helped China in the race to develop artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is the key to who dominates the world. And if they dominate the world, we become Chinese communists. That's like cooperating with the Nazis. The Chinese have killed more. Now, you got an interesting situation. You got an interesting situation in London. And London itself has become, I think London pretty soon will be governed by Sharia law. I mean, forget Anglo-American law. The mayor is a devotee of Sharia law. He gave an impassioned explanation of Ramadan and what a great holiday it was, which I was glad to hear, because the only thing I knew about Ramadan was there were always warnings that more people would be killed during Ramadan. Like when it closed and when it started, you'd have to be careful because there'd be riots and killings. But I guess in between that, they celebrate some kind of feast. And after all, that's not unusual. Their leader, their Muhammad, was a mass killer. So why wouldn't it start with killings and end with killings? So now they want to. It looks like London wants to go not only Islamic extremist. They want to sell out. They want to sell out to. They want to sell out to China. So China wants to build a gigantic, super mega embassy. Isn't that nice? What a nice investment in London, right? I think that the socialist communist prime minister, the Islamic extremist mayor, and the king, who is still working on saving us from green stuff, I think none of them has the wit or the understanding that this is not a good idea. Now, can I get through to one of you jackasses? How about we start with this? You know why they want to build it? Because their police stations aren't big enough to pick up all your people. Now, just look at the case of Chloe Chung. Chloe Chung was in Hong Kong when she was 14 years old, and she thought back then that she could protest, the idea that it was going to be changed from a democracy. Well, that didn't work, and she left, and then she joined some protests in London about that. The Chinese have now, for 4 years, been trying to drag her into court in Manchester and have her sent to China. They're trying to enforce the Chinese dictatorial laws in England. They have at least 3 unauthorized police stations in the UK. The mega embassy would be 10 times bigger than any one of them. And China violated its obligation to Britain when it violated the treaty with Hong Kong, where it promised that it would have the rule of law and it would have autonomy and freedom. They changed that as soon as they could. And now they're torturing and killing people there. They also took Jimmy Lai, the British citizen who was the one critic, and they have him in prison for life. And you're going to have him build a mega embassy? Don't you like it? Don't you like speaking English? I know it's hard to understand you sometimes, but don't you like speaking English? With allies like that, we got to have Israel and Japan and Taiwan. We got to have countries like that are there for us. They're there for us all the way, like Italy now, or Poland, or Hungary. And stop making fun of that guy who runs Hungary. He's pro-American. That's why you're making fun of him. Anybody that's pro-American is neo-Nazi. Why do you hate our country so much, you liberal assholes? Why? Now, this is just a little snippet from Doge. And, at some point, I don't even know if you could ever do, the whole Doge thing, like in one big episode. It would be too much to take, right? Oh, yeah. People probably lose interest. You probably have to find a way to do it. But it is kind of effective when you do it in these little snippets. And I think we understand it better. You know, if I were to say, oh, they stole $1 trillion. Now, I don't understand $1 trillion. Sorry. But I understand this. Not only do I understand this, this happened to me 25 years ago, even longer when I was U.S. Attorney. Now, let me tell you what it is. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez Durima presented the findings that she and Musk had come up with in looking at unemployment claims. Should be pretty straightforward, right? You're unemployed, you make a claim. Since 2020, 9,700 people whose birth dates don't take place for another 15 years have claimed $69 million in benefits. That's pretty interesting, huh? 9,700 people have stolen $69 million from the government. Oh, it doesn't stop there. A person with a 2154 birth date claimed 41,000, just isolating on a single one. Another 24,500 people over the age of 115 claimed 59 million in benefits. And how about this one? 28,000 people between 1 and 5 claimed 254 million in unemployment benefits. Well, they weren't working. When I became a mayor, I instituted finger imaging, fingerprinting for people on welfare, and I instituted workfare. And I found hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that were on the rolls multiple times. It was prosecuted by Bob Morgenthal's office. Some of those people worked for the city. Some of those people worked for the police department. Some of those people worked for the fire department. And some of those people were just plain bums. But it was a lot of them. And they would go to, New York has 5 boroughs, right? It has 3 or 4 very convenient suburban boroughs. And you can just walk into the Social Security office and it's user-friendly. They don't want to make you feel embarrassed, for being a stiff and not working. So you go in and they give you anything you want. So we had people, very few just 2 times. If you did it 3, 4, and 5. They go around to different places. Yeah, well, I changed that one. Changed it, and here's what we did. We took the 1.2 million down to 500,000, with 500,000 of them working on the workfare program. They went into real jobs. And the finger imaging stopped the double, triple, quadruple, and beyond that. Shouldn't we do that now? Fingerprints for everybody with Social Security, with unemployment benefits, and how about photographic identification? This is ridiculous. And we don't have enough money, to fund Social Security in the way that we've promised. I mean, this is, honestly, I know it sounds like a lot. That's the tip of the iceberg. It's just one program. Do you realize the damage that Lyndon Johnson did to this country with the Great Society program? He inflicted on us another era of quasi-slavery, or real slavery. And the Democrats played it that way so that they could get political support. And I want you to think about who benefited the most. A lot of black politicians who made a fortune in public office while their communities remained awful. If those communities got the money intended for them, they'd have been fixed 20 years ago. By the time I was mayor, they'd have been fixed. So let me see if I can get these rulings straight on the illegal aliens, okay? So Kilmer Abrego Garcia, the guy from El Salvador who was at Colombia and led all of those riots, they were not protests, they were riots. You can protest, you can't riot. And you can be removed from the United States when you're not a citizen for supporting enemies of the United States. Doesn't that make sense? It's a privilege to be in America. We don't allow people who support our enemies to be here. Garcia supports Hamas. Hamas supports death to America. Now, it's much more complicated than that, but what liberal jackass wants him here? There's no rule of law that you have to prove that an illegal alien committed a crime to throw him out. If they do something that is serious and questions their privilege to be here, you can throw them out. And supporting our enemies is part of it. And if you look at the evidence they have against him, the communications with Hamas, the riots taking place at strategic times, the fact that buildings were burned, the fact that children were deprived of their education, young people were deprived of their education, the fact that anti-Semitism was boiled over and the guy is a virulent anti-Semite. And these riots led to physical damage and physical damage to property and people. Much worse than January 6th. And we just send him back to where he came from. Well, now, you would think that's the end of it, right? But when the judge in Louisiana says he can go, he has the right to make a telephone call to the judge in New York. Now, I don't get that. Where, under the law of the United States, that I learned in an American law school, does the judge in New York have jurisdiction over a body in Louisiana, or a district judge have the right to reverse another district judge? Don't they have to go to the Court of Appeals in Louisiana? Or you don't have to do that if you're a left-wing, illegal, lawfare, piece of crap lawyer that gets people like me disbarred, and you should be disbarred. This is ridiculous. He's been ordered out of the United States, but he gets to make a phone call to a Democrat-appointed judge in a highly political judge system where the two senators are Democrats. The guy's all ready to, I don't know, bring him back and see if he can do a couple more riots. Maybe he can burn a couple of buildings at NYU. He did a pretty good job at Columbia. Now, are we exaggerating how dangerous these people are? I don't know. I mean, they don't tell you about this on the crooked news. That should go away at some point. But an illegal alien named Marlon Rabanellis Pret Van Zin. Marlon Rabanellis Pret Zant Zin is accused, catch this one, of beating his 2-month-old daughter to death. These are the wonderful people that that Biden brought in. Bring us your tired and your poor and your heavy laden rapists, murderers, child killers, thieves, money launderers, human traffickers. Oh, a couple legitimate people too, here and there. Oh, and by the way, if you send them out, bring them back, because we haven't had enough yet. The kid was crying, and he beat him to death. And we're making up how dangerous they are. Beating a baby to death. Beating a baby to death for crying. Thank you, Biden. We'll be back after a brief message.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? Well, I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. That guy's amazing and he's staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a very special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/Lindell. It will change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Lindell. You won't believe how simple it is.
Well, you do know that almost all of the judges issuing these absurd opinions, almost every single one of them is a Democrat, right? There may be one or two Republicans that are stuck in there, but most of them are Democrats. So I thought this might be appropriate to give you a little bit of perspective on it. This cartoon from the New York Post. President Lincoln, a circuit judge, just blocked your Emancipation Proclamation. Of course, that would be a Democrat pro-slavery circuit judge who was against freeing black people. And you wonder why black people vote for the Democrat Party. And you don't blame me for saying brainwashing, do you? President Lincoln, a circuit court judge, just blocked your Emancipation Proclamation. I mean, that's what they're doing. Bring back the guy who burned down the buildings. Still plenty of buildings to burn down. I mean, that's free speech. Wasn't free speech when I was advocating for my client, though. For that, I should go to jail. Still under indictment for it. So is the president. Democrats haven't gotten rid of that yet. So there is a bill, finally, in front of Congress to abolish asylum. And I think asylum was a creature of the Cold War, and I don't see that it's necessary any longer. I don't see, and this is unfortunate, I don't see how we could in good faith give asylum to Chinese refugees or asylees. And for this reason, the Chinese, with their police departments and their ability to infiltrate all over the world, and with the advantage they got in the last 3 to 4 years in bringing in any group of unknown people, all young men of military age, intelligence operative types, they could reach anybody in America. And they go back first generation, second generation, third generation. You got anybody in China, and they'll rip their ears out if you don't do what they want. Never been anything quite like this. So I wouldn't be comfortable giving asylum to most. It would have to be an exceptional case, a Chinese case. So I think it should be done away with, and maybe just a very special category. Maybe not even, because the minute you give the Democrats control over it as communists, they use it to bring all the communists in. Well, we'll see if that gets passed. It probably has a long way getting passed. I don't know if you've been keeping track of how successful Trump has been in bringing back our hostages, but he just brought back a hostage that was really unfortunate. This is an American, Russian-American ballerina named Ksenia Karolina. She was arrested for over a year ago, and she was arrested because she made a $50 contribution to a Ukrainian charity. And she says she wasn't even sure. She donated $51 to a charity that allegedly supported Ukraine on March 24, 2020, the day Russia launched its attack. She transferred funds in the interest of a Ukrainian organization. That's Carolina. She got 12 years for doing that, for giving $51. "12 years in a penal colony." This was done by John Radcliffe. I mean, this is really a very considerably important work being done by him. So, Ted, is there anything following up the Tesla takedown of last weekend for this weekend? I haven't heard much about that.
I guess that depends if there's, this is Stephen, by the way. I guess it depends if there's funding for it from the Democrat machine.
It's,
I haven't seen anything on my radar for Tesla takedown protest. Hey, that's the thing. Maybe they lost some money in
the market. Yeah. They probably
had to cover the shorts.
Yeah.
Right. But we'll see. I don't think we're finished with the story by any means.
I doubt it. I mean, I think we will be at some point. I do have confidence that it will backfire if it hasn't already. But there's a difference between it's backfiring and they're recognizing it. One can trail the other.
Oh, yeah. And I expect before the 2026 elections that they will be doubling down on the strategy. And we'll see what happens with it.
Well, I think they read Wisconsin as Elon helped them defeat the Republican. Do you think they did?
I think they took it as a W, and they're going to learn lessons that they should keep going with it.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's true. I don't know how much Elon had to do with that. I mean, that also had to do with the fact that it was a very, very small turnout election. It had to do with abortion, which is always a tough issue in Wisconsin. And it had to do with the fact that Wisconsin goes back and forth constantly.
How close as it gets, right?
And there's even allegations of skullduggery in that election.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. And the way that Wisconsin handled 2020 is just also absurd. Ignoring laws.
Yeah, I mean it's really it's really a Supreme Court that is it's a Supreme Court that's embarrassing. It's an embarrassing Supreme Court, which shouldn't be kind of recognized as a court. It's a political tribunal. Democratic Political Tribunal of Wisconsin rules that Republicans can't vote. Democratic Tribunal rules. Well, they let Trump go back on the ballot after their Secretary of State, I think, kicked them off.
Oh, Wisconsin. Oh, yeah. There was a time when that was in vogue.
Remember Michigan? Michigan did that too. Michigan knocked him. Your girlfriend in Michigan knocked him off.
Wait.
Jocelyn Benson knocked him off.
For which? For
president, for insurrection.
He was on.
Am I wrong?
He was on.
I know, but she knocked him off and it got reversed by the court. Look it up.
Yeah.
Look it up. Let's see. Germany's economy now predicts it's going to expand by 0.1% this year. That's what you get for electing this yo-yo Maersk, who can't figure out that conservatives won the election and is taking the country left. He's going to take you down. I mean, Germany wasn't a good spot anyway. He is going to take you right down.
Yeah, and you're right. Benson did try to keep him up, and that's in character for her. Was it Maine that got the most attention? I thought, or which one was it?
Yeah, Maine was the first one to do it,
and then
Colorado, Michigan. They're about 7 or 8,
and we're the threat to democracy, right?
Well, the threat to democracy is that one single person can determine an insurrection when there's no trial, no evidence of it, no charges of it.
But that lady in Maine, she's a really smart lady.
Yeah, I mean, she must have had a dream. Someone visited her and told her there was an insurrection. They showed her those people with guns, and even though they never had them, they were running around with guns. Those Proud Boys, boy, they are dangerous, those Proud Boys. Boy, really scary. The Proud Boys, and what are the other ones? The Oath Keepers. Oh, yeah, they're really scary, too. Unlike Black Lives Matter, it is not considered a staple at every one of their protests to burn the building down and to call for the killing of cops. And they've only had maybe 2 or 3 in comparison to, oh my goodness, 25 cops killed in 2020, billions of dollars in damage, 1,000 in hospitals. Quite a difference. So the budget thing is going to continue to work its way out. My major concern is that they get it through and we get the tax reductions stabilized, because I think that'll do wonders for the economy. And then we can worry about everything else. Right. I mean, look at Musk is doing a great job coming up with cuts here, cuts there, cuts here. I mean, how can you not cut giving money to people that aren't born yet?
And it's not even just cuts, it's also efficiencies in other ways. So they've been actually going in almost like a consulting firm to these various government departments and helping them streamline operations. And apparently one task, they had to move the login button on the IRS website, and they were told that it would take them 6 months and an untold sum of money to move it. And him and the Doge team, they got it done in under a day. And so there's those types of things where they can streamline it. And I don't know where the status is on the air traffic control stuff, but they were going to go in and, clean that up quite a bit.
I mean, it looks like he's going to have to leave soon. I hope he's going to leave behind a couple of geniuses like him that can do this
Does
stuff.
he have to leave? Is that it's like, how hard is that rule? Like, the president can't have someone around that's beneficial to the country?
I think you're only allowed to have a non-paid government appointment for 138 days. Now, can you renew it? We'll check it out, and we'll give you the answer on X at 8 o'clock. How's that?
I'm going to say yes, you can, and
There's a way to do it?
I would think so. And if not, we can do it.
You know
and
it's gonna be-
litigate it
you know-
later.
No matter whether it can be done or not, it'll be challenged
There we go. And let's litigate it.
before Judge Engamoran
Oh, geez.
and this little girl on his lap who will tell him.
And then they'll make $10 million off it somehow.
Well, that's the other one, Mirsky, the daughter who got all that money from Biden and Harris for framing Trump
Yeah.
and giving him a criminal conviction. But that's, of course, I'm not even shocked by that because that happened in New York. I expected that. We've been doing that for 160, 170 years. It's the big exception when we don't. When the New York courts in those 4 boroughs that are Democrat operate fair and honestly, you're just plain lucky because they're put there by some of the worst political slime in New York, the county leaders of a party that's completely corrupt. What do you think is happening to this money that's going to the people that don't exist? You think maybe the politicians are getting it, or the people who work for the politicians who have the patronage for them?
Or other deep state entities or actors.
What do you think? What do you think is happening to this money?
What do you think is what do you think is happening?
They're stealing it.
Well, yeah, but who? Like, who's cashing
Oh my
these
gosh,
checks?
it depends. It depends who's there. So in an agency that has a $50 million homeless contract, right? So about 25 million is used for the homeless, and about 25 million is used for administration. And administration is, maybe 5 million for the borough president and 5 million for the local politician and 2 million for this guy and 2 million for that guy. And then your brother-in-law gets to run the concessions, and
And sister-in-law selling the spoons.
Your sister-in-law is taking care of the prostitutes who come in, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but what about the other, like the fraudulent Social Security stuff? One of my conjectures was that maybe some CIA adjacent agency like needed a budget and they just hid it in there or something, or what?
Well, you could have something creative like that, but more than likely, when the people doubled and tripled up on unemployment, they did it themselves because they were able to do it. They were able to go to 4 or 5 boroughs and sign up for unemployment insurance. But here, you have access to the names of dead people, which means you have to be somewhere inside the government. This information is coming out. So that guy's getting money, right? I mean, somebody's giving you the names. There are 25,000 people that are over 115 years old, presumably all dead, right? You got to have those names before you can. You got to get it from somebody in the government.
Right.
So that guy's getting a cut. Maybe his boss is getting a cut.
And these are the people that are so scared they're burning Teslas and encouraging others to do so.
And I would think if you ever trace it, I bet this is a long-standing fraud. I bet it goes back a while. I mean, it has a history to it.
Right.
So it just went on era to era to era, which is why they fight audits. Because the audit it's why they don't do audits of Ukraine. Should be the biggest giveaway of why that whole Ukrainian thing is a stinker. Well, here comes the weekend. Let's hope it's a peaceful one. Let's hope it's a beautiful one. Let's hope that, I don't know what I hope for Iran. There's not going to be an agreement with Iran. We're going to have to, we're just going to have to bite the bullet and get rid of their nuclear facilities and show them we mean what we say. That would also help in many other ways too. And we've got to do the same thing in Israel with Hamas. And the Russians better know we're serious, because right now they don't. Being serious with Iran might shake up Putin. Think about that. So God bless the people of Israel and the people of Ukraine and the people of Iran. God bless the people of the United States. And you have a wonderful weekend. Okay? And God bless America. Go to X now. We got plenty going on.